They laughed the moment she walked into the pilot camp. A simple woman with no connections, no big name, just a dream in her eyes. They mocked her, called her a joke, and even kicked her out in front of everyone. But 1 hour later, the entire camp froze. The roar of an F-22 fighter jet thundered above their heads, and guess who was in the cockpit? The same woman they threw away like trash. What happened next shocked the world. Stay with me till the end because you won't believe this twist. And before we start, hit that like button and subscribe to Kunmis Stories, so you never miss stories that will touch your heart and blow your mind. They said she didn't belong there. The moment Sarah Parker stepped through the towering gates of the elite pilot training camp, she felt hundreds of eyes pierce through her like arrows, each stare filled with judgment, mockery, and disbelief. She wasn't like the others, no polished military background, no famous last name, no medals pinned to her chest. Just a simple woman from a small town, wearing a plain white shirt and a dream that seemed too big for her fragile frame. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" One of the trainees sneered as he walked past, his crisp uniform spotless, his smirk dripping with arrogance. Sarah clutched her admission papers tightly, her knuckles white, and forced herself to keep walking. Every step felt heavier than the last. Not because of the weight of her boots, but because of the crushing voices whispering behind her. Voices that told her she wasn't good enough, that she had no right to be here. She had applied to this camp knowing it was almost impossible to get in. Only the best of the best were selected, the strongest, the fastest, the most fearless. And somehow, through pure determination and an entry-level written exam that no one expected her to pass, she had landed a spot. But the moment she arrived, reality hit her like a cold storm. She wasn't welcome. The men laughed openly, and even some of the women rolled their eyes. "What's she going to do? Cook for us?" Another voice chuckled as she passed. Sarah ignored them, her heart pounding like a drum inside her chest. She had come too far to turn back now. For years, she had watched the sky with longing, dreaming of the day she could touch the clouds, dreaming of the roar of engines, the rush of speed, the freedom only pilots knew. Her father had been a pilot, a hero who never came back from his last mission. He died serving his country, and Sarah grew up clutching his photo, promising herself she would follow in his footsteps. But now, standing in this camp, surrounded by sneers and laughter, that promise felt like a distant star, beautiful, but out of reach. The humiliation didn't take long. During the first physical drill, the instructor, a broad man with a sharp voice, barked at her in front of everyone. "You think this is some charity program? You think we're here to babysit?" His words cut deep, but Sarah kept her gaze steady. Even as her muscles trembled from the exercises, she wasn't the fastest, she wasn't the strongest, and when the obstacle course came, she fell, hard. The laughter erupted instantly, echoing across the field like cruel music. "She's done," someone shouted. "Send her home before she breaks a nail." Tears burned her eyes, but she bit them back. She wouldn't cry. Not here, not in front of them. But when the commander called her to his office, she already knew what was coming. "Miss Parker," he said coldly, "this camp isn't for you. Pack your things. You're out." Just like that. No second chances, no mercy. She walked out in silence, her heart shattered into pieces, every step echoing with the laughter that followed her like shadows. They thought it was over for her, they thought they had broken her. But Sarah Parker wasn't done, not yet. Sarah walked out of that camp with the sound of their laughter clawing at her back like a swarm of vultures, every step heavier than the last, every breath tasting like failure. The sun was setting behind the hangars, painting the sky in shades of orange and crimson, and for a moment she looked up, her eyes wet, her heart breaking, and she whispered to the heavens, "Dad, I tried." She could almost hear his voice in the wind, soft and strong, the way he used to tell her as a child. "Don't you ever quit, Sarah. Not when the sky is calling your name." But how could she go on now? They had humiliated her in front of everyone. They didn't just reject her. They crushed her dream under their boots like it meant nothing. She sat on the edge of the airstrip, hugging her knees, watching the sleek fighter jets lined up in the distance, their silver bodies glinting under the dying sun, machines of power, speed, and dominance. She wanted to touch one, to feel the cold steel against her skin, to know what it was like to sit in that cockpit and command the skies. But that dream felt farther away than ever. As tears slid down her cheeks, she didn't notice the elderly man walking toward her, his uniform old but his eyes sharp like an eagle. "Rough day?" he asked, his voice calm, almost gentle. She looked up, startled, and nodded silently. The man studied her for a long moment, then smiled faintly. You remind me of someone, he said. Someone who never gave up, no matter how many doors slammed in his face. Sarah frowned, unsure what to say. Who are you? She whispered. He extended his hand. Connell Davis, retired. Used to train these kids before politics ruined half of them. She shook his hand weakly, still confused. Why are you talking to me? He chuckled. Because I saw what happened today. And I saw something they didn't. Her heart thumped. What's that? He leaned closer, his voice low. Fire. You've got fire in your eyes, girl. They kicked you out because you didn't fit their perfect little mold. But I'll tell you something. Pilots aren't made by molds. They're made by grit. She stared at him, stunned. Her tears drying as hope flickered faintly in her chest. What are you saying? The old man grinned. I've got clearance to one of those beauties out there, he said, jerking his thumb toward the line of fighter jets. You wanna fly? Her breath caught in her throat. Are you serious? He nodded. Dead serious. But this isn't a game. You're either in all the way or you walk away now. Sarah didn't hesitate. I'm in. Colonel Davis led her across the field quietly, his boots crunching against the gravel as the night sky began to swallow the last traces of daylight. The air smelled of jet fuel and determination, and Sarah felt her pulse racing faster than it ever had before. Every step toward the hangar felt like stepping into another world. A world she had only dreamed about since she was a little girl, clutching a toy airplane and staring out her bedroom window at the endless blue. When the towering doors of the hangar slid open, her breath hitched. There it was, the F-22 Raptor, sleek and deadly, its sharp angles glinting under the artificial lights like a predator waiting to hunt. She froze for a second, her throat dry, fear clawing at her insides. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered, her voice trembling. The old man gave her a look that pierced through her doubt. You've wanted this your whole life. You think dreams come without fear. Fear means you're about to do something worth it. She swallowed hard and nodded, her fingers trembling as she touched the cold steel of the jet. It felt alive under her palm, powerful, untamed. He handed her a flight suit, and as she changed in the dim corner of the hangar, her heart pounded with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. When she emerged, the old man was waiting by the cockpit, the canopy open like a doorway to destiny. Climb in, he said, his voice calm but commanding. Her legs shook as she pulled herself up, settling into the seat that felt like a throne, her hands trembling as they gripped the controls. The cockpit smelled of metal and fuel, and the array of buttons and screens looked overwhelming, but Colonel Davis leaned in, his voice steady in her ear. I'll guide you. Trust me. She nodded, swallowing hard, trying to steady her breath. The helmet felt heavy on her head, but when the canopy closed and sealed her inside, a strange calm settled over her. A sense of belonging. As if this was where she was always meant to be. The engines roared to life, a thunderous growl that shook her bones and ignited something fierce inside her chest. The ground trembled as the F-22 taxied toward the runway, and Sarah's hands gripped the throttle like it was the lifeline to her destiny. Ready? The Connell's voice crackled through the headset. No, she whispered, her voice breaking into a nervous laugh. But let's do it. The old man chuckled softly. That's the spirit. The jet lined up on the runway, the lights stretching ahead like a path carved into the night, and Sarah felt her heart sensing with the hum of the engines. Then came the moment. Connell's voice sharp. Full throttle. Now. She pushed forward with trembling hands, and the F-22 surged ahead like a beast unchained, the acceleration slamming her back into the seat as the runway blurred beneath her. Her breath caught, her stomach twisted, and before she could process what was happening, the wheels lifted off the ground, and she was soaring. The earth fell away, the lights of the camp shrinking into tiny specks, and the sky opened its arms to her like an old friend. Wind roared, the jet sliced through the darkness, and Sarah Parker, the simple woman they mocked, the one they threw out like trash, was flying. She let out a laugh that turned into a sob, tears streaming down her face as she gripped the controls tighter, her whole body trembling with adrenaline and joy. The Connell's voice came through, calm but firm. Easy now, keep her steady, feel the sky. She did. She felt it in her bones, in her soul, the freedom, the power, the sheer beauty of being up here where nothing else mattered. For a few heartbeats, it was just her, the stars, and the whisper of her father's voice. I'm proud of you, kiddo. Sarah gripped the controls tighter as the jet roared through the night sky, cutting across the darkness like a blade of lightning, her heart pounding in rhythm with the thundering engines. For a few glorious minutes, she forgot everything, the insults, The laughter. The humiliation, the way they shoved her dream into the dirt. Up here, there were no limits, no chains, no voices telling her she wasn't enough. It was just her and the endless heavens, and for the first time in her life, she felt free. But then, Colonel Davis's voice came through the headset, calm but with a hint of urgency. "Sarah, you've got to bring her back down." Her breath hitched. Bring her down. She had only just tasted what it felt like to fly, and now she had to return to the world that tried to break her. But then a thought struck her, a spark that ignited a firestorm in her chest. If she was coming down, she wasn't going to land just anywhere. She was going to land where they could all see her. On the very ground they kicked her off of. "Colonel," she said, her voice trembling with adrenaline and defiance. "I'm landing on the training field." There was silence for a moment, then a chuckle. "You've got guts, Parker. Just don't crash my bird." She grinned through her tears. Not a chance. Her hands moved instinctively now, guided by the colonel's steady instructions, the hide glowing green in front of her as the F-22 banked sharply, looping in a wide arc over the base. Below, the camp was alive with movement, people running, pointing, shouting as the roar of the fighter jet shook the ground like thunder. Searchlights cut through the dark, trying to track her as the sleek predator descended lower and lower. Panic rippled through the trainees as they realized what was happening. "As that? No way? That's impossible." She was kicked out. "Oh my God, she's flying an F-22. The commander burst out of his office, his face pale as chalk, barking orders that no one could hear over the deafening roar. And then, as the entire camp gathered on the field, their heads craned upward in disbelief, the unthinkable happened. The F-22 touched down on the runway with a grace that left even seasoned pilots speechless. Sparks flew as the landing gear kissed the asphalt, and the beast slowed, its engine snarling before settling into a powerful idle. For a moment, there was nothing but stunned silence, the kind that feels like the world holding its breath. Then the canopy lifted, and Sarah Parker climbed out, her helmet tucked under one arm, her face flushed with sweat and triumph, her eyes blazing like wildfire. She walked toward them slowly, every step echoing with the sound of shattered egos and broken stereotypes. The same men who had laughed at her, the same women who rolled their eyes, the same commander who threw her out. They all stood frozen, their mouths open, their pride crumbling like sand. Sarah stopped in the middle of the field, her voice steady, strong, carrying through the night air like a battle cry. "You told me I didn't belong here. You told me I wasn't good enough." But the sky disagrees. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the impossible happened. The commander, his face flushed with shame, raised his hand to his forehead and saluted her. And one by one, every single trainee followed. The camp that once mocked her now stood in silent respect, their arrogance replaced by awe. Sarah's chest tightened, her throat thick with emotion, and as she looked up at the starlit sky, a single tear slid down her cheek. "I did it, Dad," she whispered, her voice trembling with pride. "I really did it." In that moment, she wasn't just a simple woman anymore. She was a fighter. A dreamer, a pilot who refused to break. And as the cameras from the base security captured the moment that would go viral within hours, Sarah Parker walked away from the jet like a queen returning to her throne, her dream no longer a fantasy but a living, roaring reality that had silenced every doubt. And if you believe that no dream is too big and no heart is too small, then hit that like button right now and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Because we bring you real stories of courage, hope, and second chances that will change the way you see the world. Never let anyone tell you what you can't do. Because sometimes, the people who laugh first are the ones who salute you in the end.